I died at the peak of Arthur's career, when he was at the height of his power. After my death, he never took another wife. People said I was blessed to have received the Duke's lifelong devotion. Yet no one knew that I spent the years in an empty chamber and couldn't even see him one last time before my death. Given another chance at life, I drenched myself in cold water and burned the embroidered portrait I made of him. Let whoever wants to be the Duchess take that position. I certainly won't. I've been reborn, back to the day before I caught the eye of Hopkins' Duchess. Looking at my younger self in the mirror, I felt somewhat dazed. Almond-shaped eyes, willow-leaf eyebrows, skin lit out a single wrinkle. Well-maintained hands, unmarred by chilblains from years of embroidering in extreme cold. Clear vision, unblemished by exhaustion. At this moment, I was the cherished Miss Comerford, not the neglected Duchess living in solitude. Mallory, bring 2 buckets of cold water. Miss, why torture yourself like this? What if you fall ill? A cold won't kill me, but it will help me avoid the tea party. But miss, with your beauty and character, you might catch the Duchess's eye. Why avoid the tea party? The Edwards family is noble, and though both Song brothers are from concubines, with the old Duke aging and his legitimate sons still young, Arthur, as the elder, will inevitably inherit the title. But no matter how prestigious the Duke's mansion is, my father is only a 4th-rank official. We're not of matching status. Everyone knew the Hopkins Duke's legitimate son was just 3 years old. The only 2 sons from concubines were both adults, born to the same concubine and of marriageable age. This gathering was arranged to find suitable matches for Arthur and his brother. Initially, I was overjoyed to receive the tea party invitation, believing we would share a lifetime of love. But on our wedding day, before we could even consummate our marriage, the old Duke was implicated in the Crown Prince's corruption case, and the entire family was exiled to the northern frontier. In that harsh climate, I sold all my dowry to care for the family without a word of complaint. As I had hoped, Arthur gained merit by supporting Prince Dawson and inherited the title, rising to great power. But in pursuit of his ambitions, he not only stayed away from my chamber for 8 years, but was too busy with official duties, even when I was killed by bandits. If not for his years of cold indifference, I wouldn't have fallen ill at such a young age. Arthur bears inescapable responsibility for my death. Thinking of my past life, my eyes reddened as I took out scissors and retrieved my needlework from the cabinet. The embroidered handkerchief bore Arthur's likeness. I learned double-sided embroidery from a palace matron. Only 2 or 3 people in the capital possessed such skill. I cut the thick stack to pieces in moments. I once dreamed of sharing a maiden's thoughts with him, laying these tokens of love and longing before him. But not anymore. I want someone who truly sees me and holds me in his heart, not just one-sided devotion. My body trembled uncontrollably from staying in cold water too long. Call for a doctor. I won't be attending the tea party. Arthur hoped that in this life he would find true love and wished the same for himself. Today was the day when his stepmother had arranged for Arthur to meet Isabella. In his previous life, Arthur had never truly loved Isabella. The daughter of a 4th-rank official offered him no advantage. For a title, he had to fight and seize it himself. Moreover, his father was a steadfast supporter of the Crown Prince, never wavering in his loyalty, even during their exile in the north. To rise in status, he had to seek another path. To avoid being trapped in romance, he allied with Prince Dawson, built his influence, and reformed corrupt practices. Through endless scheming, he became a renowned duke. Yet when he finally reached the pinnacle of power, he found himself utterly alone. After Isabella's death, he had other women and many children, but none ever loved him as purely and completely as she had. Only then did he realize that Isabella had been the one who loved him most in this world. Having wronged her in his past life, he vowed never to fail her again, Arthur suddenly had a thought and instructed his servant, "Bring out my white robes." Isabella loved cleanliness and especially liked seeing him in white. Since he no longer resented this marriage and this life, he wanted to make a good first impression. After changing clothes, Arthur had just reached the front hall when the Duchess warmly welcomed him. "Arthur, you're here. Today's tea party is specially arranged for you. These young ladies are both talented and beautiful. If you fancy any of them, just tell Mother, and I'll arrange the proposal." Though she might neglect him in private, the Duchess still maintained the image of a proper matriarch in public. Arthur lowered his eyes to hide his expression and stepped aside. "Thank you for your consideration, Mother." "Brother, don't let her fool you. All the guests are daughters of 4th or 5th rank officials. Those from higher ranking families are just here for show because they're friendly with the Duchess. None of them are truly suitable. None of these ladies were worthy of his brother. Cian, also a concubine's son, was 3 years younger than Arthur and greatly admired him. He knew Arthur's mediocre appearance at the manor was just a facade hiding his true brilliance. Thus, he was quite dissatisfied with the Duchess's perfunctory arrangements. Arthur had no objections to the Duchess's plans. After looking around without seeing Isabella, he asked, "Has the daughter of the Ministry of Works, Lord Sue, arrived?" "Ministry of Works? I don't think so. How could she not come? Isn't Isabella, the legitimate daughter of Lord Sue, on the guest list?" "Isabella? Yes, she was invited, but I heard she suddenly caught a cold yesterday with a high fever, so she couldn't attend." Arthur sensed something was wrong and said to Cian, "Tell Mother I accidentally fell and hit my head. The tea party is over." With that, Arthur stumbled down the steps. This commotion, along with Cian's anxious calls for help, drew everyone's attention. The tea party ended early due to this unexpected incident. After Mother learned of my illness, she came to visit every day. Upon learning about the end of the tea party at the Duke's mansion, Mother fed me medicine while sighing. I wonder if the Duchess found anyone to her liking. Though our family's status may be lower, with Isabella's talent and beauty, she would surely catch the Duchess's eye if she had attended. "Don't worry, Mother. Once I'm better, I'll visit the Nanzhao temple to pray. I'll ask Buddha to bless me with a good match that will make you proud." I nestled in my mother's embrace, cherishing the warmth of familial love. In my previous life, when I followed Arthur into exile in Yanbei, Mother stayed home sleepless night after night until her hair turned prematurely white. This young version of my mother, I hadn't seen her like this in many years. This time around, I'm in no rush to marry or find my perfect match. I just want to live this life well. Being young, my body recovered quickly. Within a week, I was almost back to normal. I wanted to visit the temple to burn incense and pray. Firstly, to thank heaven for this chance at rebirth, and secondly, to pray for health and peace for myself and my family. Though Nanzhao Temple wasn't the most popular, I always came here. As I stepped down from the carriage and was about to enter the temple, I nearly collided with someone in white robes. "Sawyer?" I stared at the young man before me in surprise. Sawyer and I were practically childhood friends, our families being both neighbors and old acquaintances. In my previous life, Sawyer had personally sent his father to the guillotine. The emperor praised his righteousness, but others called him heartless. Back then, I agreed with the masses. After learning this, I cut off all contact with him. It wasn't until my 5th year in Yanbei that I learned what he had gone through. Sawyer was Prince Lutha's only son. Though their house had declined, they remained royal relatives. His maternal family, the Wu clan, were military nobility, with his uncle being a powerful general. Yet, Prince Luther, for the sake of a concubine, conspired with officials to endanger General Wu during battle, leading to his death on the battlefield. What's more, he had poisoned his own wife, Sawyer's mother. This matter involved royal secrets that Sawyer couldn't reveal, leaving him misunderstood and cursed for years. Previously, I would avoid Sawyer at all costs. He seemed surprised that I hadn't dodged him this time. Miss Comerford, I apologize. Sawyer, how have you been these years? It had been 3 years since we last spoke. Sawyer spent most of his time in Quanzhou, commanding his uncle's troops in the south under imperial orders. He always came to Nanzhao Temple on his mother's birth and death anniversaries. Coincidentally, though he was 3 years my senior, both our mothers had given birth while visiting the temple. This led to both families maintaining regular offerings here. Our mothers had even become close confidants. What can I do for you, Miss Comerford? Sawyer stepped back 2 paces, his tone notably distant. For the sake of our childhood friendship across 2 lives, I took the initiative to speak. I fell ill recently and did some thinking about many things, including you. I'm sorry for my ignorance before. Your father's mistakes weren't yours to bear. Everything you did for the country and your family was justified. Whether you resent or despise me, I'm ashamed that I didn't stand by your side immediately as your former friend. I hope you can forgive me. Sawyer seemed caught off guard by my words, his eyes turning slightly red at the corners. No need for such words, Miss Comerford. People weren't wrong. I am indeed my father's killer. Before I could offer more comfort, he cut me off. I need to pay respects to my late mother. I'll take my leave now. Watching the young man hurry away, my mother beside me let out a sigh. Life hasn't been easy for Sawyer. Both his parents are gone, and he has to fight on the battlefield alone. Who knows how many times that young soul has faced death? If you can let go of your prejudices, it would honor your childhood friendship. My heart ached slightly as I lowered my eyes and replied, Mother's words are wise. I was wrong before. In my previous life, after marrying Arthur, all my friends in the capital avoided me. Only Sawyer secretly sent money every month and even traveled far to bring medicine when he learned of my illness. Unable to repay his kindness in my past life, I must return his favor in this one. 2 days after returning from the temple, the annual flower festival arrived. The flower festival was the most beloved holiday for young men, women, and children in Datheng. In my younger years, Sawyer and I would go boating and flower viewing during every festival. Sawyer always indulged me, riding horses with me as we galloped freely through the spring forests. He never cared about society's restrictions on women. He was willing to play with me and watch me laugh. But after I distanced myself from him, no one ever accompanied me like that again. Looking back, I must have been heartless to turn him away when he came to find me. To make amends, I made pastries myself and waited outside Luther Prince's mansion for Sawyer. I thought he wouldn't come out, but shortly after the servant went to announce me, he hurried out. Why did you come alone? There are bandits in the capital today. What if something happened? Knowing he was concerned, I tugged at his sleeve and looked at him pitifully. I'm not afraid when you're here. Sawyer, I've reserved a spot at the Drunk Fragrance House. Can we go boating first, then have dinner? Sawyer's furrowed brow gradually smoothed out, his expression softening as he considered my request. Wait a moment, let me get something. He went back inside and returned shortly with bamboo wine, our old favorite drink. Seeing the wine, I smiled. Though stubborn on the outside, his soft heart made him so easy to please. There were boats next to the Drunk Fragrance House, but just as Sawyer and I approached the boarding area, 2 people rushed ahead of us. Miss Comerford, we meet again. Arthur stood at the bow in his brocade robe, smiling gracefully at me, and my heart suddenly jolted. I thought I'd avoided meeting him after missing the Duchess's daughter-in-law selection. But we've encountered each other again so soon. The memories from 2 lives overlapped, leaving me momentarily unsure how to react. Sawyer stepped forward cautiously, noticing my silence. May I ask your surnames, gentlemen? How do you know Isabella? Arthur maintained his dignified posture and replied unhurriedly, "We're from the Hopkins Duke's household. I'm Arthur, and this is my brother Keon. 5 years ago, when our father took us to Suzhou, I saved Miss Comerford from a fire at an inn." So he did remember. Yet in my previous life, when I asked him before dying if he remembered the little girl he saved in Suzhou, he claimed he didn't remember. Apparently, it wasn't that he forgot, he simply never cared enough to remember. Master Edwards, I had almost forgotten about that. We're going boating today, but another day I'll have my father properly thank you. With those words, I gave Sawyer a meaningful look and tried to walk past Arthur toward another boat. I thought, given Arthur's usual demeanor, he would leave it at that. But unexpectedly, he dropped his typical aloofness and blocked my path again, persisting, "Miss Comerford, meeting here today must be fate. Why don't you join us?" Seeing my reluctance, Sawyer tried to decline politely. 4 might be a bit crowded. I'm not sure the boat can hold us all. The boatman quickly called out, 4 is nothing. My boat can carry 8 people. With the boatman's declaration and Arthur's invitation as my savior, I had no choice but to agree reluctantly. The lake was dotted with sails, and our group of 3 men and 1 woman drew many curious glances. Seeing this scene only darkened my mood further, yet someone remained oblivious to the atmosphere. "Miss Comerford, your fan is quite unique. Is it double-sided embroidery?" "Yes. Would you consider making one for me? My mother adores double-sided embroidery and has been wanting to find someone to embroider a handkerchief for me to carry." How strange, in my previous life, he never once praised my needlework, despite all the clothes I embroidered for him. Yet now he actively compliments me. I wouldn't dare delay a request from the Duchess, but I recently had a high fever and am still recovering. A doctor advised against embroidery and other activities that strain the eyes. My embroidery skills were indeed exceptional. During those years in Yanbei, I often did embroidery work for money to build relationships with the local noble ladies, and all of Arthur's clothes were embroidered by me. I spent an entire lifetime embroidering for Arthur in my previous life. Now that I'm no longer his wife, why should I still try to please the Duchess? Arthur seemed surprised by my refusal. After a moment's pause, he forced a smile and said, "I wasn't aware of your illness, Miss Comerford. Please forgive my presumption." Just as the atmosphere between Arthur and me grew awkward, we noticed the pavilion alive with entertainment. The dancers moved gracefully, their songs filling the air like celestial music. Just as I leaned forward to get a better look, Sawyer suddenly pulled me back. "Isabella, watch out!" Before I could react, the boatman was struck by an arrow from nowhere and fell into the lake. The sudden appearance of the assassin caused our boat to be rammed by the adjacent vessel and capsize. The moment I fell into the water, I felt the bone-chilling cold pierce through my entire body. I couldn't swim and had no idea how to save myself, only instinctively flailing about. Keon couldn't swim either, and like me, he was frantically thrashing in the water, waiting for rescue. Arthur was close by, and though I saw hesitation in his eyes, he quickly made his decision. Watching Arthur swim towards his younger brother, I felt a dull ache in my heart, despite having anticipated this outcome. "Isabella, don't be afraid. Relax and give me your hand." Sawyer pulled me into his embrace. Noticing the knife scars and burn marks on his arms, I felt both concerned and puzzled. I hadn't heard about Sawyer being burned in my previous life. How did he get such a large scar? "Don't worry, we'll reach shore soon." As Sawyer swam with me towards the lake's edge, several people came down from an elegant boat nearby to help. Once ashore, a distinguished elderly man emerged from the vessel. "Quickly, bring some dry clothes for them." Old Prince Platt's eyes lit up when he saw Sawyer holding me, soaking wet. Sensing his granduncle's gaze, Sawyer immediately wrapped his outer robe around me. "Greetings, granduncle. Thank you for the rescue." Prince Platt had always been close to Sawyer's mother, and after her death, he had secretly looked after Sawyer. When Sawyer gave me his robe, I worried he'd catch cold and hurriedly accepted the outer garment Prince Platt had sent. As I was helping Sawyer put on the robe from Prince Platt, I felt a cold gaze fall upon me. Arthur had arrived at the lake pavilion, supporting Kian. When he saw me, his eyes flickered with emotions I couldn't quite read, something between jealousy and guilt. But neither mattered to me anymore. I didn't blame Arthur for choosing his brother over me. In my previous life, he would show great concern whenever Kian had even a slight headache, checking on him daily, yet as his wife, I never received a word of comfort, even when I fell ill while doing embroidery. What troubled me was why fate hadn't changed, even though I hadn't married Arthur this time. In my previous life, Sawyer had also nearly been assassinated on this day, though not on a boat. I wrote down these key dates and events on paper. July 1st, 13th year of Xuanjing. Sawyer survives assassination attempt. July 18th, 13th year of Xuanjing. Duke's mansion exiled. May 14th year of Xuanjing. Sawyer encounters another assassination attempt during Tartar campaign. Spends next 3 years driving Tartars from Dafeng. September 5th, 21st year of Xuanjing. King Dawson successfully ascends throne. October 8th, 21st year of Xuanjing. Arthur becomes prime minister. I die on this day. Miss, Madam requests your presence, Mallory called, knocking on the door. I organized the papers I'd written and locked them in the cabinet. Isabella, come here. Mrs. Golden's birthday is in 2 days. I'll take you and your sisters to attend. Mrs. Golden was my mother's close friend. In previous years, I would have started preparing my birthday gift half a month in advance. Since my rebirth, I'd completely forgotten about this. I quickly asked Mallory to fetch the Mingxia silk that Mother had given me earlier, and began working on the double-sided embroidery. In my previous life, to curry favor with the nobles of Yanbei, I had become skilled at embroidery, both in quality and speed. That eventually led to my eye condition. With my past experience, what would normally take half a month to complete, I finished in just 2 days. Mallory was shocked by my speed and wanted to tell Mother about my improved skills, but I stopped her. Don't tell Mother, she'll only worry, I said. When I brought the embroidery to the Golden Manor, Lady Golden was making small talk with my mother. She was delighted to see my double-sided lotus embroidery. As the wife of His Majesty's trusted official, Lady Golden's status had naturally risen. Among the mountain of gifts from various guests, she couldn't stop praising my embroidery. The Minister of Right's daughter quickly spoke up. I've always admired Miss Comerford's embroidery skills. Hearing you'd be here today, I brought a fan I embroidered to seek your guidance if you wouldn't mind. Such a polite request deserved a response. Since I'd been absent from recent social gatherings due to illness, several young ladies who were close to me came seeking advice about their needlework challenges. I patiently answered their questions, and Lady Golden grew even more fond of me. I absolutely adore Isabella. If only she weren't so much younger than my son, I would have arranged a match. Your mother tells me you missed the last tea party due to illness. Tell Auntie honestly, what do you think of the 2 brothers from Duke Hopkins' family? I smiled gracefully and curtsied to Lady Golden. Thank you for your concern, Auntie, but the Duke Knight's family is too noble for someone like me. Mother, sensing my reluctance to continue this topic, chimed in. Young ladies these days have their own thoughts. Lady Golden couldn't press further and said, Very well, let's not discuss this. The feast is about to begin, shall we? Feeling stifled during the banquet, I went out for some air. To my surprise, I encountered Arthur in the back garden. Arthur had been drinking light wine, his fair face slightly flushed. Miss Comerford, why are you avoiding me? I instinctively stepped back. Why would I avoid you, sir? Is there something you need? I feigned ignorance with a puzzled expression. During the lake outing, you declined when I asked for your help with embroidery, yet today your double-sided lotus fan for Lady Golden was exquisite. You jest, sir. I prepared this fan 2 months ago. Lady Golden is my mother's dear friend, practically my aunt. Of course I would prepare early for her birthday. I couldn't understand why Arthur had suddenly taken an interest in me in this life, but there could never be anything between us again. Just when I thought Arthur would stay away from my life, after my rejection at Lady Galden's birthday celebration, Mallory came running frantically into the study. Miss, something terrible has happened. The Duchess is here to propose marriage on Arthur's behalf." "What?" The brush in my hand froze, causing the ink to blur and ruin my nearly completed painting. When I arrived at the flower hall, I saw the Duchess talking with my mother, while Arthur stood obediently behind her. My mother, knowing I didn't want to marry into the Duke's family, tried to avoid offending them too harshly by saying I wasn't planning to marry yet. The Duchess had come with such confidence, never expecting our family to be so unappreciative. She couldn't quite hide her displeasure. Not wanting to create too much tension between our families, I walked in from outside and paid my respects. Would the Duchess allow me to have a private word with young Master Edwards? The Duchess glanced at Arthur and nodded. Walking with Arthur in the garden, looking at that familiar face beside me, I voiced the question in my heart. Young Master Edwards has many choices. Why choose me specifically? Arthur hesitated, then finally said, "I like you, miss. I admire your character." In my previous life, I waited for him for 8 years, and he didn't even visit my room when I was dying. Now we're practically strangers, yet he claims to fancy me. Seeing my silence, Arthur couldn't help but ask, "Why do you keep pushing me away? Is there someone else in your heart?" "No." Arthur wore a knowing expression. "If there isn't, why not me? You're gentle, kind, and steadfast, sincere to others. My heart belongs only to you. Don't worry, though I'm just a son of a concubine now, I'll surely make something of myself in the future. Isabella, marry me. In this life, I'll ensure you live without illness or worry, in lifelong glory." Wait, what did he mean by this life? Could it be he's also reborn? No wonder Arthur kept trying to get close to me before. It all makes sense now. "Arthur, it's too late for any of this. I won't renew our ill-fated relationship." Arthur looked shocked. "Isabella, you're also reborn." I froze. He didn't know about my rebirth? Did I just expose myself? I remained silent while Arthur grew excited. "Isabella, I wronged you in our past life. I was afraid of losing myself in romance and forgetting my ambitions. That's why I neglected you for 8 years. Give me another chance. This time I'll make it up to you properly." "Make it up? What could you possibly make up for?" Arthur's words stirred up all my buried grievances. I looked at him, my eyes full of mockery. 8 years of exile. I managed the household for you, networked with the powerful, cooked and cleaned. And what did you give me in return? 8 years. A full 8 years. You were either busy advising Prince Dawson or building your own power base. Do you know when my hands first developed chilblains? Do you know when my eyesight began to fail? Do you know I've always wanted a child? You know nothing, so what right do you have to talk about making amends? All the grievances suppressed for a lifetime burst forth in this moment. Arthur only knew about those 8 years we spent together through hardships, but he never understood how much pain he caused me. Arthur remained silent for a long while, then bowed his head in guilt. "I'm sorry, Isabella. I had no idea you suffered so much. Please give me some time. In this life, I won't let you experience even a hint of grievance." Truthfully, if it weren't for Arthur choosing his brother without hesitation during the boat incident last time, I might have wavered. But now, that's impossible. Since the marriage proposal ended, Arthur had been sending gifts through his doorkeeper every day. Though he was attentive, the gifts weren't things I liked. I organized all those presents and sent them back. But Arthur was someone who would seize every opportunity to gain the upper hand. Seeing I returned his gifts, he came to apologize in person, asking what I liked. Unable to bear the harassment, after telling my mother, I went alone to our estate in Suzhou. The city of Suzhou was bustling with people, its citizens living in peace and prosperity. Watching the lively atmosphere, I felt much more at ease. Passing by the inn where I was once rescued, I no longer felt the previous emotional connection. In my past life, Arthur saved me only because he had to, given my father's status. If it had been any other woman, he might not have saved her. After understanding this, those unresolvable past feelings suddenly lifted completely. Instead of entering the inn, I browsed the small stalls in front. How much is this? Miss has good taste. This jade hairpin is excellently crafted, yet only costs 2 taels of silver. Just as Mallory was about to pay, a hand bearing burn scars placed the silver before the vendor. I looked up at the person. This hairpin suits you well. Let me give it to you. Sawyer placed the hairpin in my hair bun, complimenting me. The young master has good eyes. This hairpin matches the lady perfectly, the vendor said, his face beaming with smiles. I was about to explain something when Sawyer pulled me to the nearby tea house. Come with me. In the private room, it was just Sawyer and me, facing the inn where Arthur had once saved me. Isabella, I'll be returning to Quanzhou in a month. You left the capital without saying goodbye, and I still have things to tell you. The youth's eyes held a light, bright and pure, with a pleasant curve to his smile. I quietly gazed at the young man before me. I know you like Arthur. I thought about blessing you both, but these past few days I've been thinking, since you're unwilling to marry him, perhaps I still have a chance. Sawyer rolled up his sleeve, revealing large burn scars on his arm. 5 years ago, he saved you when the inn caught fire, and I was there too. I heard you had run inside, but I couldn't find you then. Instead, I got trapped in the fire myself, and the guards found and rescued me. I'm not telling you this to show what I've sacrificed for you. I just want to tell you I like you, Isabella. I once let Arthur slip away, but I won't miss out this time. Sawyer placed a wooden box in front of me, with a small black dagger lying in its center. This dagger is for you. I hope you'll try something beyond embroidery. Be free and happy. In my childhood, I loved practicing sword fighting with Sawyer. Whatever little martial skills I had, he taught me all of them. I once dreamed of wandering the world with a sword, but later abandoned my fighting skills for needlework just to be worthy of Arthur. Now it's time to be myself again. The young man's confession was passionate and sincere. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't moved. But my heart was already riddled with wounds. I couldn't give him the answer he wanted. While I was thinking about how to gently reject Sawyer, news arrived from the capital that my mother had fallen ill. I had to return to the capital early with Sawyer. With my company, Mother's condition improved quickly, but the political situation didn't give me time to breathe. Perhaps due to Arthur's and my reincarnation, before I could fully recover, chaos erupted in the capital. The Crown Prince's corruption case happened earlier than expected, though this time the Hopkins Duke's mansion wasn't implicated. Every household kept their doors tightly shut, fearing the Emperor's wrath might fall upon them. After I rejected him, Arthur used some information from his previous life to leverage against the censor who accused the Crown Prince, managing to keep the Duke's mansion out of it. Prince Dawson gladly accepted this. During the royal spring hunt, the Crown Prince desperately attempted to overthrow his father. While the ladies were in panic, I hid in a corner, hoping to avoid the chaos. But fate had other plans. The desperate Crown Prince attacked indiscriminately, using us ladies as hostages. He threatened the Emperor that he would kill one person every quarter hour unless the throne was handed to him. All officials of 5th rank and above, along with their families, were present. A 5th rank official's daughter had just been stabbed through the chest, her blood staining the grass red. Among the gathered officials, her father knelt in agony. I knew Arthur had set a trap and we would eventually be safe, but my heart still ached at the sight. The Crown Prince wanted the throne and needed the officials, so he could only target us ladies. Arthur, who had ignited the fuse in the Crown Prince's corruption case, appeared beside me and whispered, "Isabella, as I said before, glory, status, whatever you want, I can give you." Looking at him now, I suddenly felt like I was seeing a stranger. I always knew Arthur would seize any opportunity to advance, but forcing the Crown Prince into rebellion, while it helped Prince Dawson eliminate opposition and gain his trust, it also cost innocent lives. Though great achievements often require overlooking minor details. But when I became one of those minor details, I felt a chill through my entire body. Swords should point outward at enemies, not be stained with the blood of our own people. During our standoff with Arthur, the Crown Prince's forces were also in a tense stalemate with the Emperor's men. No one dared to make a rash move. Suddenly, an arrow pierced through the clouds. The Crown Prince was shot in the shoulder, causing even more chaos. Then Sawyer appeared, resplendent in golden armor, walking towards me as if descending on rainbow clouds, all eyes fixed upon him. "Isabella, am I on time this time?" I pushed Arthur away and replied with a smile, "Yes, your timing is perfect." Life rarely gives second chances. After experiencing this palace upheaval, I realized how unpredictable life could be, making me cherish the present even more. This love, if Sawyer dared to give it, I dared to accept it. Sawyer, someone once occupied my heart, but I've removed him now. Looking at the young man before me, I took out a fragrance pouch from my sleeve. I embroidered this pouch with our names. If you want it, it's yours from now on. Sawyer took the pouch and held me tight, his tears falling onto my shoulder. I do want it, Isabella. I, Sawyer, swear to heaven that I will never take a concubine in this life. Only Isabella will be my wife. If I break this vow, may heaven strike me. I stood on tiptoes and kissed him, stopping his words. No vows were needed. Everything he'd done for me proved he would never betray me. Arthur, being prideful, stopped pursuing me after I publicly declared my feelings for Sawyer. True to his word, when the Emperor offered to reward Sawyer for single-handedly saving the situation, asking what he desired, he replied, "Your subject has long admired Minister Wilfred's daughter Isabella. I humbly request your Majesty's blessing for our marriage." The Emperor was pleased with his answer and immediately granted the marriage. After the Empress was deposed, the Emperor ordered his noble consort to arrange our wedding. While I was preparing my dowry, after receiving the imperial decree, Mallory entered with an exquisite food box. "Miss, this is from young Master Arthur Edwards. He said it's a wedding gift for ye. Oh, and he mentioned he's leaving for North Yan and won't disturb you anymore." I opened the box to find sugar pastries, my favorite. At least now he finally knew what I liked. But it was too late. I took a small bite. They weren't from this Lei Xianglao. "You can have them, or share them with Frostleaf and the others." "But miss, aren't sugar pastries your favorite?" "It depends on who they're from." Mallory tried one and smiled. "Indeed, only your husband truly understands your heart." I smiled silently and continued embroidering my wedding dress. In this second life, Arthur might have tried to care for me, but he loved himself more. Without his savior's halo, he meant less than a stranger to me, while Sawyer, in both lives, had eyes only for me. Even a fool would know how to choose, wouldn't they? After marrying Sawyer, I followed him to Quan Province. With my warning, Sawyer avoided severe injury this time. Within 2 years, we successfully drove the Tartars completely out of Dafeng. Sawyer was assigned to guard the southwestern border, and the Emperor bestowed upon him a golden token of immunity and the imperial sword. In the second year of our marriage, Sawyer and I welcomed our first child, an adorable daughter. Sawyer transformed into a doting father, completely smitten with our baby girl. Whenever his duties were done, he would rush to spend time with us. I don't enjoy warfare. Once we've pacified the southwest, if there's peace, shall we return to Suzhou, find a manor, and live a simple life away from court affairs. Hopeful and considerate, pondering the possibility gently. Yes, I'd love that. Eager and filled with warmth and agreement. Later, peace prevailed throughout the realm. Neutral and factual, with a hint of satisfaction. True to his word, Sawyer resigned from his position and moved with me to Suzhou. Fulfilling and serene. We lived on our estate, blessed with 3 lovely children, embracing a secluded life with perfect contentment. Warm and enveloping happiness. Arthur departed from the capital for the northern Yan region. A neutral yet slightly somber tone, indicating departure and change. With his assistance, Prince Dawson quickly became the old emperor's favored heir. The solitary days in Yan were challenging, so he devoted all his time and energy to supporting Prince Dawson. Just like in his previous life, he became prime minister even earlier. He thought this was for the best, as it gave him more opportunities to make a difference. He reformed corrupt policies, implemented new laws, regulated academic lands, and reorganized the administration. Throughout his lifetime, Arthur achieved political clarity and prosperity for Dafeng, allowing people to live in peace. He never pressured Sawyer, despite our past. He knew only Sawyer could bring true peace to the realm. In this life, Arthur and Sawyer, through civil and military means respectively, led Dafeng into a prosperous century. Though he never took a primary wife, he had several concubines who bore him sons. He carefully educated them, and they all became capable officials of Dafeng. His life, though tinged with some regret, was historically significant and blessed with numerous descendants.